I was going to record this video yesterday, but I realised I was too angry at the time. The video would be nothing other than me ranting. More than usual anyway. So hopefully today there'll be a bit of ranting at the start and then we can have a laugh at some half-wits. And I know, lately I've been sounding like a scratched record because every other video I record is always about the same group of people. The T in LGBTQIA+, the trans community, and we have tried to be nice. But now that community is splitting because the lesbians, gays and bisexuals have had enough of the TQ cult. And we've tried to be nice. Bear in mind, trans people, we were all just living our lives until a few fucking years ago when men started putting on dresses, demanding access to women's spaces and demanding the rest of us change the language we use to go along with you. I don't want to use derogatory terms towards females like chest feeders or bleeders. They are women, trans women, you are not. Enough is enough. What's pushed me over the edge is that last weekend there was a trans rights rally in London, here in England, and I have no idea what rights it is that trans people allegedly don't have. They're the most protected group within society, and they haven't earned their rights. They just want to take them away from women. Anyway, at this rally, there was a speaker. This clip has gone viral. Listen for the crowd cheering.
I was going to come here and be really fluffy and be really nice and say, yeah, be really lovely and queer and gay. No, if you see a turf, punch them in the fucking face.
Punch them in the fucking face. That speaker, who's clearly a man pretending to be a woman, which we'll get to very shortly, is encouraging violence towards TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists, mostly women who don't want men in their spaces or taking their rights or erasing them from the English language. That's a biological man encouraging the crowd to be violent towards women, and the crowd cheers. Now that speaker is Sarah Jane Baker, formerly Alan Baker. He managed to get a boob job for free because he was in prison at the time, because Sarah, as she is now known, did over 30 years at Her Majesty's pleasure for kidnapping, torture and attempted murder. So that is a known violent career criminal addressing a crowd and telling them to be violent. The Metropolitan Police are aware of this clip, they've seen the video and they are refusing to investigate. The thing that struck me was the silence around this issue. Because that clip went viral, I would have thought every single trans person would be sharing that clip saying, this person does not speak for us. Violence is never the answer. In particular, violence against women committed by a biological man. But there's been nothing. So let's be clear. Trans women do not want equality. They want superiority. There's a lot of talk these days about toxic masculinity. Look at a group of trans women. That is toxic masculinity. That's the angry bit over. Let's have a laugh. So I've got two videos, one from the USA and the other, sadly, from here in the UK. The first one addresses an important question. How do some people know that they're trans? Luckily, a mother from the USA will explain it to us.
Had anxiety and would never sleep, and we couldn't figure out what the problem was. We took him to specialists and neurologists, and he had brain scans trying to figure out why he couldn't sleep. Then as he grew, he got to sleeping, but his food choices were odd. They were always like green vegetables, raw green vegetables, which, if you know kids, most kids don't like to eat those things. And then the precocious puberty. All of those things, once we figured out that he was transgender, when he came to us and told us that he was transgender, when we went back and realized that the pattern of everything that he had experienced as a child, including eating green vegetables because that boosts testosterone, were just methods of his body trying to become who he was meant to be. His brain does not match his physiology.
Well, it's hard to argue with logic like that. The mystery has been solved. If you're a parent and you have a daughter, who eats a lot of green vegetables, it isn't that she's trying to be healthy and not fall into a diabetic coma by the age of 30. No, it's a way of boosting her testosterone because your daughter is actually your son. So get her booked in for a double mastectomy and have a fake cock grafted on. Now, using that logic, I see a lot of women eating salads, and I'm having a salad later tonight. Not because I'm trying to become a woman, it's because I'm trying to be less of a fat bastard. In the same way that if I go for a Chinese takeaway, it isn't because secretly I know I'm Asian. Now we know, if you want a free sex change, just change your diet. No, that doesn't make any sense. However, compared to the next clip from the UK, that seems incredibly sane. What I'm about to show you is the maddest shit I've ever heard.
Trans people get a lot of abuse online, and recently someone online said to me, they said, "Oh, you'll never be a real woman. Do you know why? Because you can't have a baby. You can't get pregnant." Yes, I can. I think I can. I have a lot of willpower. I have a lot of resolve. I have a lot of confidence. I think I can do anything I put my mind to. And right now, I'm putting my mind to having a baby. I don't even want one. I'm just doing it out of spite. And when I have it, inexplicably, somehow, by the grace of God, I'm gonna breastfeed it. But not with my breast, with the breast of a dog. I'll just leave it in the park and let dogs look after it. I'm gonna name it Clementine, whether it's a girl or a boy, and I'm gonna tell it that it can be anything it wants, even a traffic warden. In fact, I'm gonna actively encourage it to become a traffic warden. A dog milk drinking traffic warden that lives in the park called Clementine, that was birthed from the strange womb of a trans woman and squeezed out of my butthole. 'Cause by the grace of God, Lord Jesus Christ, anything is possible. Even squeezing a baby from a trans woman's butthole. So get used to it, conservatives. Get used to it, atheists. Get used to it, Jordan Peterson. This is the future that you fear. This is our world now, bitch.
It's hard to know where to start with that. Let's do the religion thing, because I am an ordained minister. It's not that I'm overly religious, it's just I was very bored during the first lockdown. So I'm not an expert on Christianity. But that person, if they believe that God made them, God gave them their body, and they then had to change it because effectively God made a mistake, well, when they die, they're going straight to hell, aren't they? Next up, leaving the baby in the park to be raised by dogs. I'd go along with that, because I'm sure the dogs would do a better job than that trans woman, or man, as we used to call them. Dog milk? No, can't see that working, but calling the baby Clementine? Why not? It's a nice name. And letting the baby decide what it wants to be. That's ironic, given that the parent doesn't know what they are. Of course, the rather obvious one to address is that no matter how much willpower and determination someone has, a man will not get pregnant. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm fairly certain one would need a uterus. And if one was not born with it, it's unlikely God will be providing one anytime soon. And to push a baby out of a trans woman's butthole, mate, you're British, say arsehole. Although I bet that guy's arse gets jealous of all the shit that comes out of his mouth. And on that, again, I'm not a doctor, but mate, no matter how vigorously and how often you get fucked up the garden path, you are not going to be with child. The truly bizarre thing for me, as if the whole thing wasn't bizarre, is mentioning Jordan Peterson. Why bring up a Canadian psychologist? Now, of course, a lot of the trans community and the woke community don't like Jordan Peterson because he has a nasty habit of telling the truth, something they aren't comfortable with. But that individual, I would say, they should see a psychologist or a psychiatrist or any medical professional because they belong in a fucking asylum. As for trans people being the future, I honestly don't think they will be. First of all, I think trans will get, well, left behind by non-binary because that can mean anything. And also, with the split that's happened in the USA, with the L's, G's and B's splitting away from the TQ cult, I'm guessing the same thing will happen in more and more countries around the world. And when that does happen, we'll see the TQ cult for what it is. A lot of people who sadly have very severe mental health problems which they aren't getting treated. And a group of attention-seeking narcissists and perverts. There's a lot of men who dress as women because it turns them on and they want access to little girls. That cannot be the future. I hope in a few years' time we look back at this point in history and ask ourselves, what the fuck were we thinking? But sadly, this afternoon I read another story which made my piss boil, as it were. Over in the Netherlands, the Dutch entrant to Miss Universe, that pageant has been won, surprise, surprise, by a biological male. And we all know why that happened. It's because if you have a trans woman entering a beauty pageant or anything similar, the judges will be fucking terrified not to let them win. All of the actual women, they'll be smiling and clapping like fucking seals. And the reason the judges are scared is because they know the mob will come for them. In the same way that the Metropolitan Police aren't investigating the violent criminal inciting violence against women. And it's no coincidence that the trans movement are so intertwined with Antifa. Both claim to be anti-fascist, but preach an almost fascist ideology, and anyone who disagrees with them is met with violence. To sum up, in my opinion, until the trans community stops screaming about everything, demanding rights that they already have, and most importantly, starts policing itself, until that happens, I don't think they're worthy of our respect. In fact, I'm done. But that's a sad note to end on, so let's have a look at two of the contestants from Miss Universe in Holland. This is the runner-up. I think we can all agree, a very beautiful young woman. And this is who won it. An ugly man in a dress looking like a fucking pantomime dame. As ever, thanks for watching.